Who's it? Come in. No stress. Okay, guys. I guess the rest of the people will just find us throughout the meeting. So, yeah, good evening, guys. And welcome to the first class here, HTML. And yeah, so I prepared a little slide. And yeah, so let's get on with everything. And I hope Nyang is. If you can't hear me, you can raise your hand or just say something. But if you can hear me, let me just continue. So, yeah, HTML. HTML, well, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And it's been around really since the birth of internet or the birth of our website. And Nzatin, it's the language that we use to build our website, and most of the websites that you see or use every day, they are all like Nzatin, they all have something in common, which is like they are all built by the same languages and they share the same kind of like principles or something like that. And one thing I love about HTML is that when you learn it, it opens up a path for you. Guti, you can learn other stuff like besides web development, you can learn what's this mobile application development. Very simple because the structures of how you write a website and the structure of building a mobile app, it's the same thing. So, yeah, to move on, tools to get started with. So, I hope ukuthi wonke umuntu a Visual Studio Code, and if you don't have, yeah, you can go to the internet or your Google and just search for VS Code and get VS Code because it's very good and lightweight. So I'd suggest that than a Visual Studio straight up because Visual Studio chows more memory. Then once you get here, you'll just go to download. Depending on your setup, you'll click what your setup requires. If you're on Mac or yeah, if you're on Mac, you'll choose Mac. If you're on Windows, you choose Windows, and then you'll install. And then another tool which you're gonna use, it's XAMPP, but not at the beginning of the course. But it's something which we're gonna use as our backend or a way which we're gonna communicate like to the database and stuff. And yeah, we're gonna learn that at the later stage. So we'll start with the UI. And then once after installing your VS Code, there's an extension that I need you to get. So once you finished installing your VS Code, you should be met with with a screen like this kinda, or something with a welcoming note and things like that. Yeah, you can ask. Okay, no problem. Don't worry. Besides, I won't push too much. Okay. So yeah, um, guys, after getting your Visual Studio Code, I'll also explain again Simpiwe. So you're gonna go to your extensions, and then that's where you'll get this lifesaver. Get the lifesaver, but I'll also share the slides with you, and then yeah, but okay. Nizongitshela uma ngicedile uku-install ama-VS Code, and if you are done, we can move on to installing the Lifesaver plugin or extension. So HTML is divided into two parts. So there's your head and there's also the body. The head contains like information about the website, like your title, your metas, and your links to third party libraries and frameworks. We'll discuss those once we get inside the code. I know with Manj it's more like, what's that? But yeah, we'll get into that in once we start working on our VS Code. And then the body, this is where like your whole website is laid out or where your program is going to be. So whenever you go to any website, um whatever that you see from here, like this part, from this part going downwards, this is your body, this is the body of the website. And the body contains like a nav bar, your pictures, information like the nama blogs. If it's an e-commerce, it contains like a category or clothing brands or things like that. And then your head, it's more like this section that's up here. Everything that you see here at the top, like download VS Code, this is the title of the website, and this is like the favicon, and also the favicon we'll discuss about it at the later stage. I don't want to confuse you a lot. And then yeah, your URL structures, it's something which we're gonna touch on once we get the project starting and other stuff. And then note, don't confuse your head and header. So there's another certain element that we're gonna focus on, which is called header. And the header contains stuff like your nav bar, your banner, and info about the website. For example, on this website, this is your nav bar where you have your most important links like to other pages. And then maybe if we went to like the homepage, this is more like your header where you get this information about the website, your code editor redefined with AI and things like that. So each and every website kind of shares like this a similar structure. And then to move on with that, um, head and body. Okay, guys, how far are you with installing VS Code before we get here? Okay, once you open up your VS Code, on these side panels, you'll see these blocks and then called extensions. You'll go inside there, and then on your search bar, you search for live and then server. Then once you get it, it's this thing, the one with the purple icon. And then you install it, and then after installing it, you're done. It will just take some few seconds. And if everybody is done with that, we're gonna create our first HTML page. So you can go wherever you want to go, like depending on how you structured your files and things like that. So I'm gonna create a new file in my documents called tutorial. Yeah, let's just start there. And then inside this file, I'm just gonna, it's either I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna locate it using this file and then open folder, and then I'm gonna locate the folder which I just created, or just create the folder inside your VS Code, depending on what you feel it's comfortable. So once I locate the folder, I'm gonna click on select folder, and then it will open up this folder. So once you're here, there's two options. You can just create a new file from here, or you can just come here on these icons and you'll see this new file, or you can right click and say new file, and then we'll create our first file, which we'll call index.html. And every time, or in fact not every time, so most of the time whenever you're creating a website, your file name or file extension should be .html to show that it's an HTML file, or yeah, an HTML file. And with that in mind, you can just write exclamation mark, and then you'll get this interlens, or yeah, I don't know the name, but your shortcuts. And then once you get your shortcuts, if you don't get them, just press Control space or Command space, and then once you press those, you'll see these shortcuts, and then you'll navigate to the first one, the one with one exclamation mark, and then hit enter. Then once you hit enter, it will create like a default template for a website. So once that is created, we can see that in this code we have a head, and then we have our body, and then all of this is all wrapped around an HTML tag. I know you can't see properly, but if you can check where the HTML starts, and you can check here, you have this slash to indicate that the HTML tag finishes here. And then on your head, you have your important things like your title, which is the title of the website. We can write anything like maybe this is cool, to show how it will be viewed, or something like that. And then after that, yeah, we can just right click. If you just installed live server, you should be able to see this open with live server. And then if you can't see that, restart your VS Code and open up your project again, and then you'll see it. If you don't see it there, you can see it right below on the bottom right of your screen. It says go live. It's either you can say open with live server, or you can click go live there. It will change the status, and then it will open up your index or your HTML page, or it will run your script. And as you can see at the top here of your panel, it says this is cool, and this is the title of the website. And if you are wondering what's the use of that, if you are searching for any website, for example, maybe you are searching for let's see, I don't know, let's just search for Apple. And then if you can see here, once you see the Apple website, you can see this Apple, and then open bracket South Africa close bracket. That's the title of the website. That's what people are greeted with whenever they search your website, or whenever they find your website. If this website was online, and then people search this is cool, they will be combined with that title here on your website. Not to confuse it with the domain. So the domain, it's like your www able.com, which for now I think you shouldn't take it serious because we'll discuss that after creating the portfolio so that you know how you can host your portfolios and stuff or websites. And then once that is done, we can go back to our slide. So when you start writing your script, everything in that script is wrapped around the HTML text, which I describe it. You start with HTML and then you have this slash HTML, which is what you saw here. And then the doc type, please don't mind that this it's more like the default thing which you can write like every time when you're creating an HTML tag, or whenever you see like whenever you just start writing your code, you'll see this doc type. Don't mind it, it's not that important. And then this chart said UTF-8. I don't think you should take it in mind, and also this viewport and content width for now, because that would be information overload and it's not something which I think you're gonna need to know or need to change or something like that. And then the head, this is where you write your title, or your title of the website and other important settings and links to libraries that you want to use in your website. So those libraries might be like, if you want to use what's this, icons in your website to make your website kind of look cool. You see this icon, the search icons, and all of those things. You can include the libraries inside your head, and we'll also do that once we start getting with our websites and stuff. And then the body contains the content that you want to display in your website, which is where your most script will be located. So whatever that we see here, going from there downwards, it's all written inside our body. And then on our next slide, we have HTML elements or tags. There are many different elements in HTML, and they are usually spotted by these symbols. I don't know how to pronounce them, but yeah, you know, greater than, less than. I don't know what they are called. Yes, Impiwe.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you're moving fast. Can you please go back to the VS Code so that I can catch up and then we'll continue? Thank you.
Okay, so the VS Code. Once you done with your installation of your extension, the LifeSave, you're gonna need to create your folder, which is either you can do it on these buttons over here on file. You can just say new where's this? Okay, let me just close this folder for now, and then I'll create it again. And then you can, yeah, you can just open up folder since it doesn't have a new folder on my side, and then go to where you want to put your folder, and then you can right click there and create a new folder, or you can just create a new folder aside or drag and drop it. Then we'll call this maybe website, I don't know, web. And then we can open this folder. And then once we opened the folder, you have two options to create files. It's either you come here and say new file, or you come here at the top and create a new file, or you can right click and just create a new file. And which is the best option? It's right click. And then after that, I'm gonna name my file index.html, and you can name it whatever you like, but usually when we create websites, your first page or the first page that you usually encounter, it's the index, so that's like your beginning of the website. It's okay. And then once you created that index.html file, also note that each and every HTML file or your web file, or it has that extension of .html, but some website can include other extensions, but for now it's .html. Then once you created that file, you can just write an exclamation mark, and then you'll see these shortcuts appearing, and then we're gonna click on the first one. And then once we click on the first one, if you didn't see those shortcuts, you can hold control and then space, or command or space, and then once you see that, you're gonna hit enter, and then you'll be met with this. And then in your head, this is where will contain like your important information, like your title of the website, the description, and also like your other important libraries or links, and which we'll do them a little bit later. And then we also have the body. The body is where we have like the whole website, where we're gonna write the whole code. This gonna contain your navbar, your I don't know if I can call it banner, but yeah, your banner like things, or your information, your blogs and everything. So we're gonna write everything here. And then if we are up to speed, you can also change the title of your website to the way you like it. You can call it uh, Hello World if you want to. Anything, as long as you know it's descriptive to your users. And then once we're there, can we move on to the HTML elements and text? Is everybody fine? Okay, silence is golden. So,
Yeah, yeah.
there are many different elements in HTML, and they are usually spotted by these symbols. Like I said, I don't know these symbols: less than, greater than, slash, what, yeah. So the opening tag is usually spotted by these two symbols, and then the closing tags, it's usually spotted by these three symbols. And then if you have your div, okay. These are the elements that we are going to be focusing on mostly. In fact, these are the ones that you'll see the most, like in most websites. You have your div tag, and then your div tag is more like your empty container, doesn't contain anything. And we'll discuss it in the later slide or the next slide. And then we also have the A tag, which is more like your link or your button. And then we also have the button, which these two act similar, but they have like different functions and stuff. And we're gonna take a look at them once we go through the course. And then we also have the P tag, which is your paragraphs, or where you see like your long text and stuff. So an example of this will be like whenever you see any wording, it's usually in your like your P tag, and then if you see like your headings, things like that, it's your H1s or your H2s, H3s, and these H1s, H2s, H3s, and your P tags, they kind of work similar to like your Office or your PowerPoint or your Microsoft Word. Whenever you're using like these functions here, like it's what we're gonna like be dealing with most of the time. So for example, if you can check out what's this, I can't use Microsoft, guys. um where do I find my H1s and stuff? But if you know your headings, like your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3s, heading 4s in like your Microsoft skills, you know that what we are going to be talking about when we discuss this too. And then we also have the image tag. That's where we'll include like our images that we see inside our websites, these images and stuff, and also that VS Code, and we'll discuss that later. So, number one, a div. So, when you write these elements, you make sure that you close them, or whatever you may call it. Yeah, I'm not coding geek. Damn, did I write this? Okay, so your div tag, like I said, you usually write it like this. You have that greater than sign or less than sign, and then your div inside, and then inside, that's where you'll write your content, and then that content will be discussed at a later stage. So, and when you close it, just remember the slash comes before your div or your a tag or your image tag or your whatever tag. And then so div are usually used as containers. I know it's confusing for now, but it's more like an empty container which has no size, no length, no width, but it grows when you insert something inside. Might be confusing for now, but uh, well, we can just write a div and just leave it like that, and then we'll discuss more about it when we get in the topic, like when we introduce our CSS. So we'll just write it like that and leave it like that. Just know it's an empty container. And then let's start with the p tag. Yeah, let's start with the p tag. So like I said, p tags are like our paragraphs. When you write your paragraph, you can just say p, and then you write your Jabri stuff. And this code is cool. Maybe that's the text that I want to write. And then once you go to your browser, your website, and then you reload, what what's happening? Why is it not working? Let me try again. Okay, so I think my live server just stopped, and when it does that, you can just say open with live server, that extension that we just installed. You right click, and then down below you have this option that says open with live server, or right below here on this part you have this button that says go live. Once you click on it, it will just open up your project in your web browser or your default web browser. And then yeah, this is our p tag, and this is how it looks with the message that we wrote inside. This is cool. This code is cool. And then once we put that p tag inside our div, still nothing happens. It still acts the same way. As you can see, this code is cool. It's still the same way it was as it was. Then we'll do some magic to make it cool. Once we get on the CSS part. So that's a div. It's just a container for now. Just take it like that. And once we discuss more about it, that's where you'll understand. And then we have our buttons, the A tag and the button tag. They work similar, and the button is just a button, as the name suggests. And then an A tag, it's more like those hyperlinks that you usually see in a website. So if we can go to our Visual Studio Code, our website, our example, we can see that here we have this download for Windows. This is a button. And then we have this web that's written in blue and highlighted. And that's our A tag. It's more like a link. They act the same way because they usually redirect you to a certain page, or sometimes maybe it's for like submitting a form. You can just use a button to submit that form, or you can use an A tag to submit that form. And let me make an example of those two. We have our A tag. Oh, why did I write? Why am I shouting? We have an A tag. And then, oh, I'm sorry about that, guys. So once you write your A, you'll see this shortcuts, and then you click on the first option that appears. Once you click on it, you'll see the shortcut that will write your A tag and the closing A tag. And then whatever statement that you write inside, it's inside that A tag. So maybe we're gonna write press me. And then something strange about an A tag, unlike the P tag, when you write it, it comes with this href is equals to, let me just zoom in the code so that everyone sees clearly. So if you can see our A tag, it comes with this href, it's equals to, and then just a string, an empty string, or yeah, an empty string. And then what does this mean? So an href, it's more like where you place your links, your link to other pages and stuff like that. And if you leave it like this, your press me will just behave more or less like your p tag or something like that. Oh, why did I open up many tags, pages? Let me just close this. Okay, so once we reload, we can see that our A tag just acts normal. It's like that link that I just showed you. It's blue and stuff like that. It's just the default standard of an A tag. And then once you hover on it, down below here on our bottom right, if you can focus on this side or the section, you can see that you have this link or something like that. It's the same link that you see here. So what does that mean? It's that we have a button that actually does nothing. Whenever you click it, it will just reload the thing because you never told it what to do. And then if you put a hash, it's more like you're saying go back to the top. Just whenever I press this, press me, it will just scroll my page and it will go back to the top. And for now, just know hash, it's more like um, when you want the link and you're not sure where you're gonna send it to, but you know at the later stage you're gonna change it, you can just write hash and it will just act normal like that. And then inside this href, we can also maybe just copy any link, maybe this link to Visual Studio Code. We can just copy that. Yes, you can ask.
Oh, bengizobuza ukuthi u-hash is what?
Hash, it's more like it reloads the page. So let's say maybe if you are down below, like somewhere here, and then you created that button called press me, and it had that hash link, it will just scroll and go to the top. I'll make an example of that once our code it's like long and full.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we can just copy the link to our Visual Studio Code and then just paste it on our href and then just leave it like that. And then once we go back to the press me and reload again. Oh, by the way, if your thing is not updating or showing up, just make sure you go to file and make sure that autosave is activated. It's just good when you know you hate saving, like you hate saving files, because whenever you want to update your code in your website, you have to save it and then go and reload. So with your live server, if it's on autosave, it will just reload itself whenever you're writing something like maybe, I don't know, this is cool um, info. Yeah, let's just leave it like that, and then you go back to the website. I didn't even reload, I didn't even save, it will just update itself. So yeah, with that in mind, the press me, we added the link to the Visual Studio Code, and then once we press it, we can see that it takes us to the Visual Studio Code page. And then we can also do something like this with the A tag. Yeah, you can ask.
Okay, bengizobuza.
Yep.
was what I view like CV. Is it possible using the Ahref,
Yeah, it's possible. So,
or I
um,
just have to be able to target the path, right?
yeah, yeah, we'll discuss that also. Yeah, but yeah, it's possible. So, what you trying to say? Let's say maybe, I don't want to confuse people for now, but yeah, it's possible. We're gonna discuss that throughout the the thing when we're discussing like files and stuff like that. So yeah, um, okay, the href, the ATEC. So the ATEC also has like other cool stuff like let me see. You also have like things like target dot blank. Yeah, target, and then once you click on that brought on target, it will just say target it's equals to, and then with those double quotation marks inside that same a tag, like that a tag without a slash. And then once you click on that, we are suggested like some different options here. We have underscore blank. So what does that mean is that whenever you click this link to Visual Studio Code, you actually directing that person to another page or another tab. If we press this press me right now with that link, you can see that our page didn't close. It just redirected our user to another tab where it opened up our link. So whenever maybe you have, I don't know, you want to redirect your users to other websites, it's actually good to use target blank when you don't want them to actually leave your website. Yeah, but we'll also do practical examples of those once we get in the portfolio site. So let's go back to our slide. If anyone has a question about the A tag before I move on to the button, can ask now. Okay, so our button tag. So we can just write button, and then we get our shortcuts, and then we can click on the first one, and then once we click on it, we can just say press me. Then once you reload that, we can see that our button it's actually different from like the press me. The press me is just a hypertext link, and then the button it's more like the button as like I explained, this button and then this hyperlink. So whenever you want a link text, you can use your a tag, and then when you want your button text, you can use your button. But one major difference about this, it's that the button doesn't have an href, so you can't use it for like, you can't just put href and to that Visual Studio Code and expect for it to work. Like it won't do anything. So the button actually works with JavaScript, and we can also discuss that once we get to JavaScript. So for now, just know that there's a button, and I don't want to confuse you with some JavaScript on HTML. So yeah, so the difference is how they appear and also how they actually work. And then we have our H1, H2, H3, and also the P tag that we discussed. And then, for example, we can just write H1 so that you can see that this is heading 1. And then we can copy this, paste, 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 and then say 2, and then change this 2, and then say 3, and then say 4 for this. And then also the fifth one, then it can go on and go on. I'm not sure up to what, but yeah. Once you reload that, we can see that our heading one, it's actually bigger than the rest. And then once you go down to heading five, it's actually kind of small right now. And that's the difference between those headings. So it's kind of like your Word document. Whenever you write in those headings, those H1s or heading one, heading twos, they actually act the same way. And then with that, done and dusted. If there's no question, we can move on to the next tech. So we have IMG or image. Is it? Yeah, IMG. Yeah, not image full. It's IMG. So on that first slide, I made a mistake by writing image, but yeah, it's IMG, short for image, and it's self-explanatory. This is where your images are going to be, or going to be called. So if you want an image in your website, you have to locate that image. You can locate it online, or you can do it offline, depending on what you like. So offline, we can just go here, maybe grab one of the images that are here and just copy it and then go back to our project where our project is located, and then we can paste that image. And then maybe I'll call this I don't know, logo or banner. Yeah, we can call it banner. I don't know. Yeah, that's the name of the image, banner.png. Then once we go back to our code, I don't know, we can write it anywhere. Ah, maybe down below these buttons. We can say IMG, then we can see that we have different IMGs, but we can take the first one. And then this one, it's also like the A tag. It comes with like special abilities. It has the SRC, which is your source, and the alt, which is where you write your attribution text. So your source, it's where your image is located. Since we added our image inside our web or same folder as our index, um, once we go inside our source and those two quotation marks, we can just press control space or command space, and then you'll see the suggestions. So you can see here we have banner.png and index.html. These are the same things that we see here. So once you click on one of them, will just show you that the source, okay, it's banner.png. And then what's the alt tag? So the alt tag, it's more like oh, okay, the image is shown and it's kind of way too big, and we're gonna discuss the sizes once we get to the CSS part. But what's the alt tag? So the alt tag, have you ever like visited the website with like slow internet connection? Like, in fact, back during those days, you'd see like a broken image kinda logo. Let me just break this image nyan and just remove maybe the R here, just for example purposes. And then you can see that there's no image right now, ne? And then I'll write something on my alt tag. This is my image. So we can see here that we have this broken image nyana thing, and then it's written this is my image. So that means that whenever your picture is not found or the internet is slow, it's lazy to retrieve that image and things like that, or internet connections, it will write like in place of that picture that, oh, we have an image here, so that the user knows that there's an image. Another good thing about it is that whenever people are searching like for different stuff like on Google, maybe say um, Samsung, let's say, whenever they come to the image sections, whatever they see here, it's what's written on the alt tag. So it actually describes your image, or or Google, whenever it's looking for those images, it goes to those alt tags and look for something which has Samsung, and then it will bring it into the search results. I hope that's understood. And then if you have questions about that, you can ask now, or forever hold your peace. Okay, silence is golden. So I'll return my R, and then we can see our image in full screen again. And right now that this is my alt tag has disappeared. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, to move on with that, um, we have the CSS. What makes the website beautiful? So we can see that we wrote our HTML nyana, and we can see that the website is coming, but it's work. So what makes the website go from this to actually this? It's the CSS, which is your styling, how you style your code or your website and stuff like that. And then, yeah, so styles are introduced in multiple ways in like your HTML code. There are three ways which you can do it. You can write the style inside your p tag if you want to change this paragraph. Let's say maybe I want to change my paragraph text into blue color. I can just space here inside my p tag, create some space nyana, and then write style, it's equals to, and then those double quotation marks, and then inside here, that's where I write my gibberish stuff. So CSS, and it's more like I don't wanna lie, it's the most complicated language because it took me time for me to learn this, and it's still bugging me up until this day. But obviously, this course is gonna help you, so we'll also introduce other technologies that will make your CSS more simple going throughout your web dev chain. So let's say you want your text with the color of blue. So CSS has a thing called font or color. Yeah, let's use color. So the color, once you write it, you can see you have the double what's that? Okay, semicolon and then a colon. Yeah. So you have that colon and then you have your semicolon at the end. So inside these two, you can write like the color that you want. So there are three ways to write your color. It's either you can just type blue. Uh, Once you type blue, you can see that once we reload our website, that our paragraph or p tag, it changed the color into blue. And then, or you can just hover here on that blue color and just select the color that you want depending on how you want it. If you want red, you can just go to red. If you want it to be transparent, you can drag this down, and then once you reload there, you can see that your color is kind of transparentish, red transparentish. Yeah, yeah. But once you turn it up on the transparent, you can see that your red is more colorful. So you can play around those, and then you can see that now it's no longer written red or something like that. It's written RGB. That's the second way you can create colors. So you have your red, your green, your blue. That's what RGB stands for. So your first digit in your bracket, or your opening bracket, it's 250. So your numbers end up to 250 and they start from zero. So when you say 250, it means like it's aggressive on the red, and then when you say zero on the second comma, it says that there's no green, and then there's no blue, and then your color will just be red. If you know how to mix colors, you're gonna love this. But if you just like me, you're just gonna write blue or red. If the color is complex, you're just gonna use color coding, which you start with hash, and then you're just gonna say maybe 767676. I don't know what color is that, but it just showed me gray. So those color coding, it's like six numbers, it's in hexadecimals, and you can search like for any color coding for any color that you want. If you can say red, color code, and then you go to all, you can see that they show you this. Your AI will just show you that, or some different internets will show you things like that and that and that. Then you can just copy those numbers, just paste them. I'm not good with colors or numbers or things like that. That's why I prefer writing the exact color that I want. But depending on what you want or how it works for you, you'll do that. Then, if you want to increase like your font size, the font of our paragraph, make it maybe bigger than our heading. We have like things like font size, which is still kind of like that thing, the Microsoft Word or Office, but the difference is that right now you are coding kind. So we can say maybe font size, and then say maybe 48 pixels. So if you remember here on your PowerPoint, whenever maybe you want to write any size of something, you can just go and click here. You can see that these are in pixels. So the same pixels that you saw there on your code are the same ones that you see here. So if you're good with this, then it's easy for you. And font size, I'm sure maybe it's written font size, the definition of this. As you can see, font size. And then you have your what? Your font. You have your um, text alignment properties, which are the same things which we're gonna discuss here in CSS. So if we say font size 48 pixel, and then once we reload on our code or web page, we can see that our font is now bigger. And yeah, you can also do some other weird stuff. I don't know, like making your text bolder just by saying font dash weight, or you can see many different styles that you have like in your suggested features or suggested shortcuts. And then we have our font weight. Once we click on that, we can see that we have different numbers from 100, which is thin, until thick. When you go into the 900s, and you can also go, I think, 2000, I'm not sure. Or you can just use bold, bolder, or lighter. If you want bolder, you can just click on bolder, and then after that, you can see our font is now bold. And then, any question here?
Oh, ngicabula mina.
Yeah.
Angazi ukuthi ngisazofika khona but ufuna ukushintsha like i-font yona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. So, since we are in our CSS, we might as well as do it since we are introducing more CSS stuff. So, if you want to change like the font of your website, we can go here and say maybe change font family CSS. Yeah, you can search for that. And then once we scroll down here, I'm looking for the ones that you can use external fonts, because these ones I'm sure you're just gonna use them and be like, God, they're boring. So there are different ways which you can add fonts, and you can either do it externally or just use like the default web browser like fonts, which is the ones that you see whenever you're creating your website. Let me see if I can get it. I can get that link. So yeah, we have this link tag. So guys, I'm not the Lentele guru, so I don't know everything. But once you search for this, oh, it's under your CSS fonts and font Google. So this website, your Double Three Schools, it's more like where you find your documents or your docs about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or any language that you're interested in. But we're just gonna steal this link tag that you see here that says real style sheet and stuff like that. And then we are gonna go inside our head and then paste it there. Then once we paste it there, what does that mean? So link, whenever you see something that says link, it's a link to external. Oh, sorry for the inconvenient. They lent a meeting. Kunjin, Microsoft kicked us out. So sorry for that, guys. Sorry for the inconvenience. The 60 minutes was up. So let me just tell people to join. Sorry about that. Hey, Tep, you getting everything? Everything is okay.
Yes.
Okay. Guys, I hope I'm not moving fast, guys. And I just saw Simpu's message. Ish. Ah, yeah, should I continue? Bazosithola nge-recording or ngendlela? I don't wanna
Sizophela.
I don't wanna waste people's time, Pella. Like people need to sleep.
Sizophela vele. Nithatha our time.
No, in fact, it was supposed to end like just 2 minutes ago. So let me just finish up this font and then the rest we'll discuss them at the later stage. Okay, so we copied that link, ane? And then we have this link, and then this link it has this family saying Sophia, and then inside our web or our reference, they also added this style called font family. So, like I said, there are two ways which you can add style inside your website or something like that. So you have your first wave, which was the PTEC. Oh, there are three ways. I'm sorry about that. The first wave was the PTEC, where we added the style by just saying style, and then we wrote the style that we wanted, which was the colors, font size, and stuff. And then we also have another way, which is by writing style in our head, the most important one. In our head, we're gonna write style, and then so here, once we wrote style, there are many ways which you can kill a cat. The first one, which we're gonna learn, it's at the basic level before the classes. It's by using the class of what we want to change. Let's say maybe we want to change the font of our paragraph. We're just gonna say P, and then this P will just go and search for all the P's that are inside our website, including this one. And then we'll open up these curly braces, and then once we inside those curly braces, um, that's where we're gonna write our style. And then we said we want to change our font, so we're just gonna say font family, the one that we have here, and then we're just gonna take this Sophia that we added, and then Sophia, and then make sure that it's inside the double quotation mark, since it's a string. And then once we reload our website, we should expect our P tag to have a different font than the rest. I hope that explains the font, including or the font whatever. And then let's say maybe you want a different font and this is not the font that you wanted, the Sophia or whatever font. So you can go to your Google and search for Google Fonts. And then inside this Google Fonts, we're gonna have like many different types of fonts, which like if you love the Exile, you can just click on it, and then you can see that this what's this link, it has this Exile as the name. We can just copy that name and then go to this link at the top, and then just replace the Sophia with Exile, and then also do the same thing with our font family and write the Exile that we just included there at the top and in our link. And then once we reload again, you can see that our font changed. Now it kind of looks different. So does that explain the fonts? And also, does that explain the styling, the internal styling? Okay, so if that's that, um, let's say maybe we think that this is not good, this is not how we like our code, we can just copy this whole code and just paste it here. And then once we paste it, you can leave it like that, but for good organization, you can just put some end line on those, or some enter or some space. And then yeah, once we reload, we can see that the color is still red, even though on our style we don't have any style. Even if we remove this, we can see our color is red. And yeah, guys, I think that's it for today's class. I don't want to take most of your time. I know you got something to do. So we'll just end here. See Tibela. And if you have any questions, it's a good time to ask. Okay, I guess nobody has a question, guys. Let me not eat your time and just save this video and upload it. And then, if you're not sure about something, you'll watch it again. And if you're not so sure about something, you can also text me and ask me, or ask me when we meet. Yeah, and yeah, guys, I don't want to hold you further. And class is dismissed. Thank you. Sure, sure.